Is the formula the same as last year, or is there any significant difference between what you're doing this year and what you did last year?
So the formula is the same, because that's the reason for the success of the event, obviously. What we do try to do every year is we try and improve on certain things year from year. So one thing you will notice this year is we're providing breakfast for the participants, allowing them to network, free of charge breakfast in the morning. One key thing is that we're offering FAM tours. We're not offering them ourselves, but we are supporting them and promoting them. So
in the Berlin area?
No, around Europe. Oh, so there's about 6 or 7 or even more FAM tours taking place right after this event.
Right.
And then we do little things like, if you look at the manual, it's vastly improved from the usability point of view. Much easier to look through it and to consult the different entries, and improved signboarding, those kinds of things. But the formula, to answer your question, is the same.
And the numbers, last year it seemed that you couldn't have got more in without shoehorning them in. Have you managed to get more in?
Well, I'm surprised to say yes, we have. You know, last year I think it was 1,566. I remember that number sticks in my head. Now it's 1,621. Right. So we've passed that magical 1,600 mark. We did that by getting rid of a few stands and using that space for tables. But I think that we can't. I don't know if we can grow anymore. The market demand is there, but the hotel is just restricted, so it's impossible to grow it any further.
You had another figure relating to the number of meetings that are scheduled by the software.
Yeah, well, it's a staggering 21,000 meetings are taking place over 2 days. If you can imagine that. It's quite amazing as a figure, 21,000.
I mean, that's official, registered meetings.
Yeah, official registered meetings taking place.
In addition to that, of course, there are countless others.
Countless others, yeah. And if you imagine how many students then get sent abroad as a result of those meetings, if you just extrapolate the 21,000 to, and we're reaching, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of students then sent, followed on by these meetings.
We kick off this afternoon with these seminars. I think it would be fair to say, would it not, that the schools and the agents come here for the business that follows this rather than the seminars. Would that be fair?
Well, of course, they all come for that. Yes. And we introduced these seminars a couple of years ago. But based on the feedback, they've really become an integral part of our events. I mean, people really do like it. It's a chance for them to get some professional development, do some extra networking, to see what experts have to say about the areas covered. They're mainly in the marketing and recruitment area. So, and we tend to develop those by getting the feedback from the delegates every year. What did you like? What didn't you like? And then finding subjects and new speakers that would interest them in the following year. Yes. So they definitely are an integral part of our events now. I think the ambition was to give the workshop a bit of an intellectual component. As I said, professional development is very important, especially for the agents, of course. Agents can be, whether they're small or large, often do need training or further development. So just to give the show a bit more of a balance and intellectual component. Right. That's why I brought them in a couple of years ago. That's going very well.
One of the things, again, I asked you about last year related to the presence of higher education. I noticed, for example, that the University of Essex had taken the same position as last year.
Yes.
So does that mean that you haven't seduced them into your higher education fair, or
Well, there are still some here. The higher education fair is now just had its second round in Antwerp, and we're very happy with that. It grew by 68%, which is quite good over the year before.
Fantastic.
So, and also in terms of countries, and the delegates were ecstatic. They loved it because universities like to be among themselves, and they also really liked the fact that the agents were very much focused on higher education. The agents have much more stringent entry requirements for that event. They have to give us references which only come from higher education, and they have to give a letter of reference as well from a university. And they have to prove through various ways that they are focused on higher education uniquely. So yes, we do when we get contacted by a university wanting to come to Berlin, we do let them know about higher education, say there's a very specialized event, and some say yes, why not. In fact, I had one gentleman who did follow our advice and was very happy that he did. Others just like Berlin and come because you will still find those agents here, you see.
Yes.
So the universities that aren't bothered with being with a whole lot of language schools,
yes,
they do come year after year.
But Berlin is a kind of highly desirable capital city for this kind of activity. But I believe you're going to have the HE one in Madrid.
Yes.
Which is also highly desirable.
Also, yes. Well, with the HE one, we link that with the EAE conference, the European Association for Education, And that goes around Europe. So we have to take the event, we follow them. And so Madrid is next year, which is very good, of course.
Yeah.
The year after that will be Nantes in France. And then it's going to be Copenhagen in Denmark.
Oh, good. Yes.
But you're right to ask that question. I think we had a bit of a problem with the first one being in Trondheim, Norway. And either people knew where it was, or they didn't know where it was. And then Antwerp, Belgium was relatively better, of course. But Madrid is a great destination, and we should have lots of interest there.
Right. How have you got on in China?
Well, China's a very good success story. We had the first one 2 years ago. We just had the other one just now. Still the second largest show. It grew minimally, but it was quite large anyway. We had over 30 Chinese universities. And the key thing about the Chinese show was the interest in the educator-educator meetings. That's a new feature in all of our workshops. And there was a lot of take-up between Chinese universities meeting with foreign universities to do twinning arrangements. And as we've implemented this all over the last year, we're seeing more and more educators meeting each other, which is the new thing. And I think ICEF is the only workshop organizer that does allow that, educators to meet with educators.
Right.
Right.
And you're doing that here as well?
Yes, we're doing that here as well. Yeah, exactly.
What sort of institutions would meet with other educational institutions then at Berlin?
It's mainly in the higher education field, who want to arrange twinning arrangements or partnerships or exchange programs, or schools who want to also maybe link up to form an association or to get joint business going. There are many reasons why they do that, and we're happy to see that it is taking off. Otherwise, a new development is the Latin America event. We've had the ICEF Americas event in Miami for many years, which attracts lots of Latin American agents. We've now decided to move the Latin American show to Brazil, so next September there'll be ICEF Latin America. And this is a scoop for you. We will be morphing the Miami workshop, which is now called the ICEF Americas workshop, into the ICEF North America workshop. And it will be a destination-focused workshop, where only US and Canadian educators will be there, and they will be meeting with agents who can prove a demonstrated focus on North America. Similar to our ANZA event, I think that's also new since we talked last year. The Australia-New Zealand workshop took off like a shot. It's our third largest already. It's also already 85% booked, and we're still months away. It's going to happen in April. So I would say it's the first show which has got booked out so quickly. Tremendous success because
is that AG focused as well? Or?
No, it's purely Australian New Zealand focused. So it's a destination focused workshop again.
Right.
So the educators are only from Australia and from New Zealand.
But they can be any type of education.
Yes,
institution.
yeah. It's a mix of various things. It can be language schools, education. Higher education is quite strong. Even boarding schools or high schools, that kind of thing. The good thing though is that the agents all who come there have to prove that they are working with that territory, again with references only from Australia or New Zealand. So we're doing the same thing in America with Miami, which will take place in December 2009. So the Americas effectively becomes two workshops, the North America and the Latin America workshop. Another new development is Dubai. It's not a new one, it's been going on for 3 years, but it's growing tremendously, and we've now added the name. It used to be called the ICEF Middle East Workshop. We're now calling it the ICEF Middle East and Africa Workshop to include all the African agents. People would come and say, why don't you do something in Africa? Now that we're doing Latin America, every continent is covered more or less except Africa. But we're a bit limited, by our time. There's only 12 months in a year, and you can't do workshops all the time everywhere. So we've decided to give it a start, give it a try by getting the African agents to Dubai. And if that does take off, we might think of doing a workshop in Africa in the years to come.
Fantastic.
That's about all there is in the workshop space.
That's enough to be getting on with.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks for interviewing. Thanks. All the best.